Hey trainers, we are back here at the Memphis Regional Championship for the Pokemon trading card game. I am John Kettler, and to my right is...
Kirk Dupe Snacks Dubé.
And hey, we've had a chance to see some pretty exciting decks, not necessarily on stream, but out in the field there have been some pretty interesting rogue concepts out there. We've seen Glaceon, we've seen Zygarde GX. Have you seen anything that caught your eye that you're kind of curious about?
Have been impressed by Zach Zamora's straight Golisopod list that you and I were actually talking about before this round. Actually, who we were trying to get on stream. However, he is facing off against the Psychic Malamar, and we wanted to offer you a little palate cleanser from the squid there.
That's right, a little bit of variety. I mean, Malamar's been a fantastic deck at this point, and it looks like we are actually about to get into the action here. Our current matchup is going to be a little different. Like we said, give you guys some variety, some different decks, different matchup scenarios, different interactions. And here we have Jose Marrero, very seasoned veteran in the game right now with a Vikavolt Rayquaza deck. And
on Grant Manley's side of the board, which we will see, he'll be on the left side of your screen, Zoroark Control, similar to what we saw yesterday. With the Plumerias and things in that nature out of Connor Lavelle. Both of these players representing ARG, so they are going to have to go through each other to get to this top 8. Certainly not what you want to see, facing a teammate a little bit later in day 2. However, both these players poised to make a top 8 run with a win here.
Yeah, and you know, if you want to see a teammate, then the best time to see him is close to the end of the tournament. Right now, we're over half of the way, 9 rounds out of the way for day 1, and we are currently on the 3rd round for day 2. That's 12th overall, 14 rounds of what's called Swiss play, where you don't drop out of the tournament, you keep on playing, but only the top 77 or so players advanced into the second day, and only the top 8 will actually get to play in single elimination. So it's pretty difficult. I wouldn't say cutthroat because there really isn't that much cutthroat in the Pokemon card game, but it's pretty intense. It's going to be statistically really difficult to make that top 8.
Absolutely. 77 players reaching that 19-point threshold, making it into day 2 here. On the line, top 8, top 16, Cash and CP, top 32, Cash and CP. So it's now it's a rat race to the finish line, trying to bolster that record and trying to fall inside that top 32 so you can leave with a little bit of a paycheck.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But here at this point, these players are still in it to win it. They have the statistical opening to be able to get into the tournament, get into the top 8, and maybe get that title for Memphis. And it looks like we're about to start the action right now.
We see double grubbing on Jose's side of the board. Just as Zorua for Grant Manley. Great ball off the top. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Select a Pokemon from those 7 cards, put it into your hand. Finding himself Zoroark GX.
Yeah, that's right. And interesting little decision by Jose here that might be understated is benching that second Grubbin right away. That's because he's going second, and he doesn't want to risk the chance of losing that Grubbin. It's so important for him not just to get that turn 2 Vikavolt. We've been hammering that point over and over again. We'll go ahead and hammer it some more. In order to get your setup for this Rayquaza deck, you need your energy acceleration. Those cards that let you attach more than 1 energy per turn. That's strong charge on Vikavolt. That ability is fantastic, but it's nothing if you don't have it in play, and you need Grubbins to be able to get into play.
Absolutely. Ultra Ball coming down. Max Potion, I believe. Enhanced Hammer. Going to go to the discard. Zorua is what Grant Manley has selected. And now he's just taking a quick inventory of his deck, making sure what resources he's going to have available to him that aren't kind of locked up by the prizes. And here we go. Devoured Field, Zorua, Tapu Lele. Wonder Tag for Lily. Very strong turn 1 supporter, will allow you to draw your hand back up to 8 cards rather than 6 if played at any other point in time in the game.
Yes, sirree. A refreshed hand, full of options, full of cards, maybe more outs to Slugma, maybe more outs to Zorua. Get that big setup going on. Tons of critical plays. We see that Nest Ball. That's probably going to go for the Slugma because he's already got 2 Zorua. He has that Magcargo just sitting there. He's like, okay, I want to be able to get my consistency going on. Down goes the Slugma, and at this point, it's looking like it's a pretty convincing early game setup for Grant, but Jose's not out of it.
Yeah, I mean, Jose has yet to have a turn.
He is yet to have a turn.
And as we know, these Rayquaza decks can be very explosive, and I'm sure Jose has walked through a couple Zoroark decks in day 1 to put himself in day 2. So he knows what's going on. He has a good grasp. Draw off the top, Grass Energy. And Jose really going to have to try and set up that Vikavolt early so he can start leveraging that strong charge onto Rayquazas, taking some knockouts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And looking at Jose's list, he runs several copies of the Volkner supporter card, which lets you search your deck for an item card as well as a lightning energy. That lets you get access to Rare Candy, the all-important item card that lets you skip the Stage 1 evolution, that first evolution card entirely. There's no Charge-a-Bug here, just get straight into the Vikavolt with it. But Jose's in kind of an awkward situation where, because it's his first turn of the game, he can't evolve. That's always an important rule to remember. In most situations, you cannot evolve first turn without some sort of special exclusion. So he's Ultra Balling, maybe working his setup a little bit here, but he can't get that instant gratification of a Vikavolt this turn. So he moves the Rare Candy up, and there goes the Volkner. So he's threatening the turn 2 Vikavolt, but it's not quite there until next turn.
That's correct, John. Tapu Lele Wonder Tag coming down. Volkner. So we're definitely going to see a lightning energy. He has that available to him. I believe
he's
that's a switch.
He's got the switch.
Big gold switch. Rayquaza on the bench, maybe eyeing up to get a grass energy, which he discarded with the Ultra Ball. Use Stormy Winds, grass energy onto Rayquaza, switch, Tempest GX, get himself 10 cards, and put the onus on Grant to find his 1 copy of Judge.
Yeah, that's a great alternative play there, being a little more aggressive, getting effectively the same benefit. Oh, and an energy recycle. That might be a big deal. Energy recycle letting you get 5 energy basic energy back from your discard pile, shuffle them into your deck. It's really important for the later game when you've already lost a ton of energy. But Jose's like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and go for the aggressive start. I'm going to go ahead and see what I get off this let loose. And if I don't like my hand, let's just go ahead and use my GX attack and draw a new one.
Jose really setting himself up for success here. We see a Rayquaza on the verge of being able to start dragon breaking through Grant Manley's board. And he's going to have a chance here. 4 cards, as you mentioned. If their quality isn't up to snuff, Tempest GX, discard those. Let's put those in the bin. Let's get ourselves 10 new ones. Grant Manley just wants 4 cards he can play with.
Yeah. Now, interesting point here is that Devoured Field is an all-important stadium card for the Zoroark GX deck. It adds plus 10 damage to Dark-type attackers, but interestingly enough, in this matchup, it also adds plus 10 for Dragon-type attackers. Rayquaza GX is a Dragon-type attacker, but I don't actually see much of a benefit for Jose in the matchup with it. So effectively, Grant's just going to be able to enjoy an extra 10 damage without really giving Jose much of a bonus for doing that.
Correct. It does not change the math on any of the 30x of the Dragon Break that Rayquaza brings to the table to change the math on Zoroark. So, as you mentioned, not a lot. Second recycler gone.
Oh,
that is
gosh.
worth noting. Jose is out of energy recyclers, and I think Grant Manley is double-checking that right now, knowing that his Zoroark control strategy just opened up a little bit because Jose is going to have issues getting his expended energy on knocked out Pokemon back into the deck.
And for this matchup, granted, energy discard is not nearly as beneficial for Grant in general because the enhanced hammers are not going to come into play. Jose doesn't have any special energy to be discarded. And while we see this Plumeria go down, there may be a relevant point later on in the game when the second Plumeria can be a factor in starving Jose of some additional all-important math because it takes a lot of energy to knock out one of those Zoroark GX. And while Jose already has 3 on the board, he needs, let's see, 7 or 6 in a choice band. So that's a lot of resources.
Absolutely. Ultra Ball grabbing Tapu Lele. Tapu Lele for Judge, so Jose not going to get value out of that Tempest GX at all. Escape Rope brings up irrelevant bench Pokemon on Jose's side, as long as it's not a Rayquaza that can attack. And then a Judge coming down.
No, he Lele'd for that Judge, right?
Yes,
okay.
He did.
That actually feels a little greedy there. I mean, granted, Manley, it felt like a necessary play right there to be able to get rid of the turn 2 Vikavolt, but it also felt a little greedy because the odds of him hitting the Zoroark are pretty low. And
see, I love the play on the sole fact of he also had the Magcargo in hand, so he's only really out 1 turn.
But that's still a big deal when Jose's sitting on a potential knockout here. So getting that third Zoroark, still not a bad start. And we've seen this plenty of times before where even without instant draw power, the smooth over ability is so crucial and so good because you're able to choose the top card of your deck for the next turn.
Absolutely. We're going to see him pull a Cynthia to the top of the deck, just making sure he has that draw supporter for next turn. And really putting Jose under the gun. He had 10 cards, now down to 4. He still needs a Rare Candy, Vikavolt, and a way to get this Marshadow out of the active to really start cutting through Grant Manley's setup.
And he has the Guzma in hand. He has an energy in hand, so he could score a knockout this turn if he wanted to. And I feel like he's eyeing that Magcargo, although all those Zoruas are a potential future long-term threat, so it might be just as beneficial to do that. Could also be a good option to start going for the setup, but no, Jose's just like, you know what, let's get rid of that Magcargo. Let's go ahead and deprive you of the ability to legally rig the top card of your deck every turn. Go ahead and just put that pressure on and get knockouts later.
We are here taking a look at Zorua with the choice band promoted. Cynthia off the top, as we knew, was smoothed over for Rayquaza, 3 energy. And now it's on Grant to match the intensity of that Rayquaza and its Dragon Break attack. We see a Zoroark GX hit the board immediately, trade number 1. He does have a DCE, Rescue Stretcher, Ultra Ball, so he's got plenty of options. Another Zoroark GX is available to him if he wants it. We're just going to see a Nest Ball here, perhaps another Slugma. Grant Manley is playing a very, very heavy Slugma line, 3-2.
That's right.
So rather where Connor yesterday, we saw him go for the one-of copy of Marshadow Let Loose. Grant decided to really bolster up his Slugma and Magcargo counts to make sure he has access to smooth over every game.
Right, and that's a key concept behind consistency in the Pokemon card game is when you run thin, small lines of Pokemon, you're more likely to have an issue in getting your setup. One of the cards might be in the prizes at the beginning. You might be forced to discard one of them. That's what happens with these 1 copies of Slugma, 1 copies of Magcargo. But on the other hand, when you're running such a thick line of the Slugma Magcargo, your odds of something like that happening are a lot lower, and your odds of doubling up are even higher. But one little nifty play that I like here in Grant's list that I really want to bring to y'all's attention is the fact that he runs a single copy of Shrine of Punishment, and that can be really huge here. He didn't hit for the knockout last turn, but he hit for a sizable amount of damage. He might be able to hit a 4-prize turn in the near future.
We see Jose gets the Rare Candy right off the top, has a Volkner in hand. Just needs to make sure he selects his item correctly so he can get that Vikavolt online. With his manual attachment for the turn and a strong charge, quick math, that is going to be 7 energy, which spells a knockout on that Zoroark GX.
Knockout.
However, both energy recycler for Jose are gone. And that Rayquaza, as you mentioned, loaded up with damage. And Grant might have an opportunity to just wipe 3 energy off the board and claw back into this game slowly but surely.
Exactly. And granted, you know what? The normal Vikavolt Rayquaza list runs above average count of energy as opposed to your normal deck in the format. This actually has 14 energy. Some of you guys at home might be used to the 18 energy theme decks, but generally you see anywhere from about 8 to 11 or 12.
Very
this is
interesting.
14.
Let's take a pause here. Mysterious Treasure is the item that was selected. Jose did not have a way to get a Vikavolt. That means it's either in his prizes or all his ball cards are gone to be able to fish it out. So he is without the back half of that combo, and he is unable to take the knockout on Zoroark GX, and Grant Manley has to be elated right now. He's going into his turn. Rescue Stretcher, Magcargo coming down, smooth over trade. He's going to get any card
Look at
he
him
wants.
fly through his cards right now. He's like, you know what? I thought that I was going to lose my smooth over, but now I've been able to get it into play. I've still got my Zoroark GX, and I can approach this either way. I could set up a really cute play with that Shrine of Punishment. What do we got? The Acerola for a heal. That turn was wasted.
His whole turn is gone. Zorua comes up. Zoroark GX
oh
Evolution.
My gosh.
DCE attached. Zorua is going to hit the bench. Trade
we got a second
2.
trade. See, Acerola is indirectly more draw power. That is just about the perfect situation for him. He's going to get a knockout. He's going to deprive Jose of even more energy. And remember, he burned through both those energy recyclers.
Those recyclers are gone. Jose gotta be feeling the pressure here. Does have the Mysterious Treasure in hand. Maybe the path to success is another Rayquaza. Jose would know, very solid player, but how is he going to turn the corner here? Another copy of Volkner off the top. That is not what the doctor ordered here. He's going to need much more than that to meet the very oppressive board state that Grant Manley has put together in the lapse of a Vikavolt coming in Jose's last turn.
And on top of everything else we've been talking about, that one shot that Jose was threatening Grant with last turn, that is gone unless he is able to get the perfect card combination. With that top deck of the Volkner, we are not going to see that perfect combination of cards most likely. We've got the Rayquaza with that energy discard. What did we just see with that?
Energies off Stormy Winds.
Oh my gosh.
That is.
And Grant's probably sitting here like, well, I guess I don't even have to work to be able to pull off energy denial.
Here's the thing, John. If Jose doesn't take a knockout here on the Zoroark GX, Grant Manley can smooth over for Kukui.
Yeah, and he just Volkner's first scoop.
Scoops him up. Great call by Jose there, simply because time is in fact a factor, and the resources and the way his cards came together, he had to pitch those very early and doesn't see a way to claw back into this game. That being said, Jose will be on the ones and twos to lead us into game 2.
What an awkward game. I don't think I've seen too many situations like that where all of your Ultra Ball are prized. You have basically all of your energy discarded by your own ability to ironically energize your setup. If I'm Jose for this next game, I'm just hoping that I run hotter than that.
He was probably crossing his fingers hoping, I wish I could have held on to that Tempest GX. However, that play that you mentioned that might be a little too aggressive ended up paying dividends for him. And Grant was able to kind of get just enough out of Jose's hand to make him stumble a little bit. Vikavolt not coming down, and Grant takes game 1 in spectacular fashion.
And for what it's worth, guys, let's just go ahead and break down the magnitude of that situation, how unlikely what we saw was. Between those discards off the Stormy Winds, and the Ultra Ball, that was 2 energy recyclers out of 2 discarded in the early game. The odds of that are low. The odds of the Ultra Ball not being available on the Volkner are low because he runs 4 copies. Not having it in his hand at that point, so unlikely. I mean, that's just the game. It sometimes is having a little bit of bad luck, but that was a lot of bad luck.
As we say, Jose found himself on the wrong side of variance, and Grant Manley couldn't be happier for it.
Yeah.
He takes game 1.
But, when you're pro players like both of these guys, you learn to accept the variance. You don't just suffer it too much. You move on to the next game, and that's literally what we have going on right now.
In hand, we see Choice Band, Volkner, Lightning Energy, Grass Energy. Volkner is going to be the supporter of choice here. Looking through the deck, maybe Jose needs to grab an Ultra Ball to get Marshadow let loose, try and pay the favor back to Grant and get him out of the game with a judge-like effect?
Could be, or maybe he's just going to go ahead and try to chain it a couple turns, get that grub in. Not quite what he'd like here, depending on what else is in his hand. I can't really make out the second half to Jose's left. I don't see a rare candy, so at the very least he's going to get that grub in and try to follow up with a knockout next turn.
Grant Manley does naturally have the judge this turn. I can't imagine he'll be going for it on turn 1. He still needs to get through the setup of his board first and foremost. Ultra Ball pitching that enhanced hammer, not a lot of value there, and he does go for the judge.
Yeah.
He's high rolling all day long. The kid is trying to ride the lightning, and I love it.
See, I actually feel like this is even better than the last game, where last game I kind of said it felt a little greedy to me. We disagreed a bit on that one. With this, it feels perfect because Jose was threatening that turn 2 Vikavolt. Even if he didn't necessarily have it, he was at least threatening it. But here, with that Lele, with the odds of being able to get a strong follow-up the next turn, we've got a wonderful turn 1 setup with 3 Zorua, with 1 Slugma. He's rolling.
Absolutely, as you mentioned, he did get the Tapu Lele off of the judge, which means he is not going to go without a supporter on his following turn, and that's always a good feeling. Haven't quite seen Jose's hand. I saw Lightning Energy, maybe a Full Art Rayquaza GX. I didn't see a Vikavolt. Maybe he has a way to find it. Tapu Lele off the top might be a piece of the puzzle that he's missing. Could get Volkner. He has a Volkner in hand.
I don't think
was that the last card, Shining Lugia? It was.
Yeah, it looked like it.
Grubbin promptly pulled to the front. Jose searching his deck, does not want to allow Grant to maybe Guzma up a Grubbin and then put him one step further away from that Vikavolt. Jose looking through his deck. We're taking a look with him.
They're fishing the nest ball to the bottom of the deck, presumably for the Grubbin, and it looks like that's what he's following through with. And it doesn't look like there is a whole lot in that hand right now of Jose's, so we might see a Tempest GX coming up.
I like that. If he's going to Tempest GX, no sense in just arbitrarily throwing a Lightning Energy into your discard there by getting it with Volkner. You can leave that safe in the deck. Tempest GX, draw 10.
And there goes the Shining Lugia. Not that relevant in this matchup, but there's some spots where it could be pretty helpful. It can score knockouts on Zeruas. It can score a knockout on Magcargo when it evolves. And most importantly, it can be a non-GX attacker with some defensive capabilities too.
Tapu Lele coming down after a Choice Band and a Zoroark GX find its way to the battlefield. Cynthia going to give Grant 6 more cards, probably looking to get another Zoroark GX. And of course, he would love to see Magcargo so he can smooth over and really start controlling his draw.
Also relevant to note here is that by running additional copies of Magcargo, by running 2 copies, by running 4 Ultra Ball, Grant effectively has 6 outs to being able to get out that turn to Magcargo. And even if he doesn't hit one of those, he has the soft out of being able to trade and discard a useless card hoping that he hits it. But the Ultra Ball in hand, so he has Magcargo if he wants to, but the question is if he wants to get that guaranteed card. He does want to get that guaranteed card. He's like, I don't want to play any games. I want to get my setup going.
Grant Manley moving at the speed of light, Ultra Ball, weakness policy. And Devoured Field was that 3rd card. Card going on top, trade away. Going to get the DCE so he can start applying pressure of his own. Nest Ball.
Oh, man. So for a clean 150 at least, and I don't think I saw Devoured Field in his hand, so it won't be that extra little bit of pressure, but it is enough damage to make Jose really worried right here.
In this matchup, Devoured Field without Kukui is no need. He knows he already played a supporter for the turn, so might not need the Devoured Field right now. Rare Candy, Vikavolt, Ray, Stormy wins.
And a Candy and a Ray. Those are some rough discards, but nothing that's just fatal.
Can Jose get up to 7 energy this turn? Mysterious Treasure for another Stormy wins might be the express ticket that he needs to make that happen.
And with 3 energy on the board, it looks like he, between an attachment.
That just gets him up to 6, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it gets him up to 6. He has not used his strong charge yet. So even with 6 energy, he could play the Choice Band and get the knockout.
Choice Band is a way to cross the threshold that he needs of 210 damage, but I can almost guarantee you if he falls short, we're going to see smooth over, Acerola, trade, pick that bad boy up, take a knockout, back to you.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be seeing all the same combos of last game between the healing, between the extra indirect draw power of being able to use trade. So and that's the important thing to point out about trade as an ability is that when the Pokemon goes back to your hand and then you evolve another Zorua into a Zoroark, that's considered a different Pokemon. So it isn't attached to the physical card, it's attached to the Pokemon.
We see Tapu Lele come down, Wonder Tag, pulls a Rare Candy to the front, Volkner, Rare Candy, and
I like this as an alternative if he's able to get out the other Vikavolt, where instead of going for the Choice Band as a knockout option, he could just get another Vikavolt, and he's threatening 8 energy with a little bit of additional deck thin. Every time he uses that strong charge, he's giving himself better odds of hitting other cards in energy.
Absolutely, and the energy recyclers all are available to Jose this game, so he will be able to buy back some of those energy once these Rayquazas inevitably start getting knocked out. Here we're going to see the second strong charge of the turn.
And the really incredible thing about Grant's list in this circumstance, in this matchup, is that looking at Jose's list, I do not see a single answer, a single way to counter Shrine of Punishment when it goes into play. So Jose may be kind of aware of that, maybe not. Knocks him out with the damaged Rayquaza, wanting to get this Rayquaza knocked out. And at the same time, Grant could be, let's see, I don't think that I see counter catcher in Grant's list, so he's probably just okay going for the clean knockout here.
Not many other options available to him, having to Lily that came right off the top. Great ball.
Oh, there's
Zorak
Zorak.
GX, he found, that's step one. Got to keep chaining some attackers here to get that knockout. Second piece of the puzzle, DCE. However, now that he has Zorak GX, smooth over, and a trade is going to lock that up for him.
Yeah, although if I'm in Jose's situation right now, I'm feeling a lot more confident than I was the last game, because even though I just lost a Rayquaza GX, I haven't lost my energy recyclers this time. I haven't lost my rescue stretchers entirely. So even though he discarded a Rayquaza of his own earlier off that Stormy Winds, at the same time, those Rayquaza can return. So even if this one gets knocked out, Jose's like, what? You know what? I've got more knockout options, so as long as I draw into my Rayquazas or my ways to revive them, then I'm good.
Absolutely. Ultra Ball coming down, escape rope. Going to hit the bin. Grant Manley taking a look at the discard. Throws the other Ultra Ball away. Zorak GX. And smooth over. Going to get the third Zorak GX, I believe.
I think we're going to see a really cute play here from Grant's side where notice, guys, that he is evolving the bench Zorarks. He's not evolving the active one. He's going for a knockout here, and what he's doing is he might be turning this Zorua into a threat right now. That's right. It looks like he's going to go for a knockout with the Zorua against Rayquaza GX, and we are at a critical mass point right here where Jose has enough energy to knock out anything. So the damage dealt to Grant is irrelevant as far as calculation for whether or not Rayquaza knocks something out. So at the same time, the Shrine of Punishment is going to whittle away these GXs and threaten a win against Jose.
Absolutely. Jose promotes the Tapu Lele, quickly plays a Guzma, pulls up one of those benched Zorak GXs, and that's definitely the prize he wants to be going after, is those Zorak GXs, because they are the Pokemon that are going to be able to pressure Jose's attackers.
Oh, yeah, and we get into an interesting little dance here of like the non-GX attackers versus the GX attackers, and I'll play a deep motivation behind Grant's tactic to just attack with Ram is that that's a non-GX threat. However, Jose has a non-GX threat of his own. 3, as a matter of fact, those 2 Vikavolt, but more importantly, the Shining Lugia. So if Grant tries to get cute and bring up the Zorua, maybe try to get on an odd prize exchange if he doesn't have an instant knockout or something like that, then Jose can just bring up the Shining Lugia to respond to it. But at any rate, Jose is going to be up 2 prizes, most likely after this turn, with the 2 strong charges and with multiple Rayquaza. So bringing that Rayquaza up to the bottom of the deck and the Marshadow.
Ultra Ball hits the discard. Pitching, I believe, was a Grass Energy, and I didn't quite see the other card. Last card in hand is a Grass Energy. Jose eyeing up the Let Loose Marshadow.
Yeah, and what that suggests to me is that, between just one Grass Energy and a Let Loose, I mean, his hand wasn't that strong, so he's like, let's just go ahead and keep the momentum going. Let's go ahead and maybe draw into future outs for later on in the game. That way I can not only chain a potential Rayquaza for the next turn, but the turn after that.
4 cards coming for each player off of that Let Loose, a.k.a. Judge, stapled onto a Pokemon. 4 cards for Grant. Ace of Roll is the first card seen there. Jose draws him face down. Rescue Stretcher might be on the hunt for an energy recycler. Didn't get to use him in game 1, but would be nice game 2 now that he has 2 strong charges available to him every single turn.
That's right. Must be nice if he's able to get that. And I see a Guzma fanned around in Jose's hand right now where if this Rayquaza does not get knocked out, then he could be threatening a game win next turn because plenty of energy on the board.
Does he have no energy left in deck?
I may stand corrected if he has no energy left in the deck. Between the 14 energy, odds should be pretty good. And looking at his discard pile right there, I mean,
he might fall short here.
I just don't. Let's go ahead and I hope he fans his discard pile again because.
Well, Grant was just looking at it. Oh,
it looks like he has his discard divided. Do I have that right? It looks like he has his discard divided as non-energy and his
He's
energy.
thumbing through. He didn't hit an energy recycler.
Oh,
he has no energy left in deck.
He's we've got a repeat of the last game, but this time we've got Vikavolts in play.
All the energy recyclers he wants, except they are locked 2, up 3, in the 4, deck. Grant
5,
Manley.
6. Oh, man, we've got 6 energy in the discard pile right now. I think that means the 2 energy are in the prizes.
Grant Manley doing his best Neo from the Matrix impression, dodging bullets left and right. Just these little snippets of opportunity.
Oh, my gosh, the scoop has been issued.
Those prizes have been absolutely crazy. Can you believe it? Grant Manley just
I know, man. Like
ducking, dodging, ducking,
get that
working
slow
toward,
motion
kind of
action
roping and
going
doping
on.
him in a corner, lays in a big haymaker. Oh, you got the wrong prizes? Oh, you don't have access to the cards you need? Bang,
okay.
knockout. And he's able to rally back. He takes a W. Jose Marrero extends the hand.
I know, man. And that first game, granted, the prizes weren't that bad, but the second game, it's amazing where, generally speaking, when you run 14 energy in your deck, 2 prized energy, not that big of a deal, not even that unlikely, but just the way that all of that dealt out was really unfortunate for Jose. And I felt like his line of play was fine those 2 games. I didn't really have any issue with it at all. It's just unfortunate the way that it dealt out.
Absolutely. He took the lines he needed to give him the best opportunity to win that game.
Yeah.
Sometimes the cards quite literally fall in the wrong order. Stormy wins away an energy recycler. Forced to Ultra Ball away another energy recycler, I believe is how that shook out, and wasn't able to buy back his energy.
Nope,
So,
not at all. And with that, we will have a post-game interview in a little bit, so see you soon. Hello, everybody. I'm John Kettler, and we are back at the 2018 Pokemon Trading Card Game Memphis Regional Championship. I am here with our Round 12 winner, Grant Manley. And first, I just got to ask you one thing. How do you feel about those discards on Jose's side for that last game?
The discards in the last game were pretty. The first game, he had some really. He had to discard both Recycler, and then his last Stormy Winds hit like 3 energy. It was pretty bad. But that's, I mean, part of Rayquaza, I guess. But yeah. He drew, like, okay in game 2, but, like, not great. So I was able to win that. But, yeah, it's pretty unlucky for him. I mean, I definitely got the better end of the luck on that one.
Yeah, although that said, I mean, your deck's kind of about control. It's about consistency. So let's kind of walk through that. So what motivated you to decide to play just a straight Zoroark Magcargo deck? It's a bit of a throwback to last format.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I actually had no idea what to play for this tournament. So yesterday morning at like 7:30, right before the lists were due, one of my buddies had the deck, and we just chose to play that. Like he got here like really late on Friday, and I had Zoroark Weavile actually locked in on Friday night.
Really?
Woke up to them playing the Zoroark Magcargo deck, and I'm like, all right. I don't like any deck. I didn't like any deck, so I just built it, tried it out. It works okay, I guess.
So that said, you were originally kind of thinking about Zoroark Weavile, so you talking with your buddy, you were a little motivated to switch decks. What about Zoroark Magcargo? Like, what was that ultimate 7th-hour decision that made you decide to go ahead and switch?
Zoroark Weavile was just like very meh.
Meh.
It wasn't like
I like that.
It was just meh. It was like a very bland kind of deck, and it didn't feel like great, I guess. And so yeah, shout out to Corey Misamer, the guy that got me on Zoroark Magcargo the morning of. So, but I like Magcargo. I like how you control your top decks, and you there's a little bit more control over your own game. It's still a lot of luck. You have to open Nestball Lily, but I like Magcargo a lot and all the stuff that it can give you.
And so that said, with you saying that Zoroark Weavile is a little bland, kind of meh. At the same time, Zoroark Magcargo, not so much. You don't think that would apply to that, even though you really don't like any deck in the current format. It at least doesn't apply as badly as with that deck.
I think Zoroark Magcargo has a little bit more tricks with like energy denial, healing, and then the damage modifiers. Like there's more like tricks to it. And Zoroark Weavile is just like hope your opponent plays abilities, and
if they don't, then whoops. Yeah.
You're
so
just Zoroark.
So you're in a really good position. You got 28 points with a couple rounds left.
Right.
It's a little bit of work to make top 8, but you're in a primed position. Are there any decks right now near the top tables that you're particularly concerned about? Like over the others, or does it mostly feel okay?
It mostly feels okay, honestly. I feel like I'm 50-50 or better against everything. Fighting decks are a little iffy, but like I have 2 weakness policy and some ace rolls for them, and also the energy denial. So I think fighting is like okay. Everything feels kind of close. I think I want to straight up lose to, though.
All right. Well, hey, Grant, best of luck in the next couple of rounds, and we will be right back.
Sounds good.